Hey guys, how's it going? So, about 2 months ago, the company Inventables contacted me and said they would send me one of their brand new CNC machines, the CARVE, for free if I do a review video on it. And to be honest with you, I didn't even hesitate because I already seen a ton of videos on the predecessor, the Shapeoko 2, and I know how this thing can be beneficial in my shop. So to be honest with you, it was a no-brainer. This thing's actually really cool.
So right out of the box, I was pretty impressed on how it was all packaged. Everything was clearly labeled and organized into the different sub-assemblies. So once I had everything out and all laid out, I started watching the instructional videos on Inventables.com. And one thing I noticed right off the bat is that not all of the steps are in the videos. And some of the steps you can only be found in written instructions, which isn't a big deal as long as you're aware of it, but I actually skipped a few steps before I realized this, so that's just a heads up there. Other than that, the videos are very well done and the written instructions are well put together and easy to follow. The aluminum extrusions that Inventables calls maker slides are awesome. When coupled with the V-rollers and cam nuts, you can really dial in the fit to end up with a very accurate linear glide. I've instantly thought of all kinds of projects this stuff would be good for, and it's actually reasonably priced in the Inventables store. Here you can see some of the upgrades that Inventables did to the CARVE. One is the X carriage itself. It is now all one solid piece, which eliminates a ton of parts I have to put together. Another option is the Acme thread for the Z-axis, and this is beneficial because not only is it stronger and runs smoother, but it's actually quite a bit faster. Alright, so looking at it from the top view here, what they did is instead of mounting the stepper motor vertically like in the Shapeoko 2, they made a motor plate and mounted the motor horizontally and belt driven the Z-axis. And what I guess this did is increase the stiffness by quite a bit. It's also important to note here, one of the complaints that I've seen in the pre-production X-Carves was the lack of ability to make a hand wheel for the Z-axis. But if you get the Acme thread, there's a nut that goes on the top, so it'll be pretty easy to make something up in with this version. Okay, so to be honest with you, I was pretty intimidated with doing the wiring for the X-Carve because it's just not something I do very often and I'm not comfortable with. But once I got going and followed all the instructions on the Inventable webpage, it really wasn't that bad, and I can't see anyone having any hard time with this. But that being said, if you want spindle control, you will need to solder, and I skipped a step and decided I would just run my spindle with a toggle switch. But after using the X-Carve for a while, I can definitely see why spindle control is a pretty handy feature, because if you're not babysitting your machine and you're in the house and the machine's running, you're going to want the spindle to turn off when the carve is finished, and without that control it's just going to stay running. So I will have to take the time to learn how to solder and get that done, and hopefully it's just not that difficult. So on the sign that you see me make at the beginning of the video, if you look closely, you can see there's a ridge around all the letters, and this surface in here was actually quite rough. And come to find out what the problem was alignment at the spindle. Now you can adjust for square in this direction quite easily, but in this direction there's no good way to adjust. And after a further investigation, it looked like the squareness was coming out here at the gantry rails. There's no real way to adjust that because these holes here would hold the gantry rails in are size for size with the bolt. So what I decided to do was drill these holes out, but you have to be careful doing that because you're now going to lose your alignment with the work surface as far as height goes. So all I did was make 2 spacer blocks, it works out to be about 4 inches exactly, and slid those in on either side, and then unscrewed all 4 screws on both sides and pushed my gantry rail back just enough that I could drill these holes out. Then once they're drilled out, I put them back, making sure that was tight to my blocks, checking for square, and tighten my holes back up. And that seemed to fix the problem because I carved out another test piece, and you can see my sidewalls here are much more smoother now, and the bottom surface is actually quite a bit more smoother. So not a big issue, but an issue nevertheless. So I thought I would mention that and how you can fix it if you see that on your X-Carve. I also wanted to mention that Inventables offers a free software program called Easel, which really simplifies the CNC workflow. You can draw, calculate the tool path, and send your G-code to the machine, and it kind of just all does that automatically for you. It's surprisingly easy to use and allows you to start your projects as soon as you get the machine up and running. The only thing with Easel is because it is kept so simple, you're really limited in options, like if you're not able to change your tool paths, for example. But all in all, it's a great program to get you started with the CNC. So I haven't had a chance to really put the thing through its paces yet, but my first impressions are it's well designed and it's definitely well supported machine. It's fully configurable, it's easier to put together than the Shapeoko 2, and it just looks really cool. My only problem I had during the whole assembly was not being able to square the gantry, but that ended up being a pretty simple fix. So I hope you guys liked the video, and I'd appreciate it if you please like, comment, and share.